Welcome back to the vlog and welcome here to Yifki, Papua New Guinea. It's another gorgeous day out. We're just doing a quick 12-minute flight to jump over these mountains behind me down to Malamunda. Just dropped off some fuel here for our helicopter flights. This is where we store some of our fuel. So let's go ahead and get started and climb up to 9,000 just to drop right on back down to 2,000. We're at 3,000 right now. All right, igniter's on, fuel pump on, make sure there's nobody around. Fuel on, introduce my fuel. And it's just coming up as normal, so no dramas. Got it 687. Generator on, push my prop forward. My amps drop on back down a little bit, then throw my alternator on and my auxiliary bus. Yeah, well, that's starting up. Here we are in Papua New Guinea, the little blue dot today. And we are just basically going to climb up this little mountain and then right over here on the other side of the mountains. Caps and selectors are good. Our controls are all good. Turn off ready for takeoff. Let's get my radar going. So get the gimbals warming up so it's not bouncing around in there as we bounce down this runway because it is kind of bouncy. Switches and instruments, we are 5,400 pounds, so rotate at 54 and 63 if we have to come back in, which we will in just 10 minutes. We'll set up our trim, and abort we'll talk about once we get up on top of the hill. Moresby 6538, November Tango Zulu, taxi.
November Tango Zulu, Moresby, go ahead.
November Tango Zulu, taxi, Yifki, Malamunda. 1 POB.
November Tango Zulu.
All stations, Yifki 128.5, November Tango Zulu. Taxiing Yifki from Malamunda. We'll be on climb 9,000. If you're into flight simming, someone just built this for Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020. Did a phenomenal job. So check out my Patreon page if you're wanting to fly this exact same route from here, Yifki, over to Malamunda. I've got someone working on building out a Malamunda, so it should be done hopefully in a week or two. So anyways, yeah, really, really great job. And it looks so much like this. It's crazy. All right, if we are not airspeed alive by the windsock on the left, then we'll go ahead and abort on the runway. Full reverse, heavy braking. Up, pull off, and shut off. If we're going off, we'll just continue off straight ahead. After takeoff, pitch for 85 knots, consider EPL, our emergency power lever. Otherwise, we'll go ahead and feather it. Left-hand turn down towards the river. 80 full flaps, cut up, pull off, and shut off. Make my emergency or mayday call on this if I have time. Otherwise, hit my emergencies masters and crack my door. Ignition is on, strobes, lights all on. 24 degrees out, we're 3,000. 1440 for 1490. Ignition, condition, flaps 20, fuel and harnesses. Checklist complete. Torque is set, airspeed's alive, we're super light today. There's 40, 50 continuing, and there's already airborne, wow. I'm out initially for 73 knots, or pitch for 73. Up and over the trees as quickly as we can. This thing climbs really awesome when it's empty. We're climbing at like 1,400 feet per minute, so we'll head out this way. Today, because we are empty, I think we can just turn down this valley and then continue on up to 9,000 without too much struggle. Just keep our ITT right at 740 for as long as we can, which is 5 minutes. Basically, I just took off at 9 after, basically right on the minute. You keep it at 73 knots. That's going to give us our best angle of climb, which is going to get us the most amount of altitude in the shortest amount of distance. And my hope is that we can get up to 900,000 or just below that to get over top of these mountains right here in front of us and just see, rather than just going the best rate of climb, we'll see if this works a little bit better. All right, we can go ahead and put our engine inlet back to normal. Our igniters are turned off, landing light turned off. We've got it pegged right at 73 knots, and let me just get my wings level. It looks like 1,200 feet per minute is about what I'm going to get out of it today. I can even bump up my ITT just right back up to 740. It dropped off just a tiny bit. There, now we're getting up to closer to 1,400 feet per minute. Moresby 6538, November Tango Zulu, departure.
November Tango Zulu, go ahead.
November Tango Zulu departed, Yifki, time is 09er, tracking 053, on climb not above 900,000, estimating Malamunda 21.
Tango Zulu, take it level.
On climb not above 900,000, November Tango Zulu.
Tango Zulu.
I have like 2 knots of wind behind me. It's not a lot at all, but it is helping with my climb just over top of these mountains just a tiny bit. As it comes and hits these mountains, it gives me a little bit of extra updraft. Looks like I'm just passing through, or I'll cross over now at 7,700. As I'm seeing more and more on the other side, that's an indication that I'm at a level that's going to clear me over top of that. So let's bring our ITT right back to 720. Don't need to have it up there anymore. We've had it up there for 3 minutes now. We'll just start slowly bringing it back just to cool the engine a tiny bit before I immediately just go back to idle right on back down to Malamunda. We're just 20 miles out. I'm taking a lot of my right rudder pressure out of here. This is my rudder trim here, just so that I can keep coordinated. So autopilot on, now that we're well over top of this mountain. We're getting our flaps out as well. As I take the flaps out, the noses just want to drop because you're losing lift. So I just have to keep a lot of back pressure on it for the time being.
500.
Let me see exactly which valleys I want. All right, so you can see ahead of me I've got 1, 2, 3 valleys. I want to go over 1, 2 ridges and then down. That's what I want. I'll go straight ahead, even though I have to kind of go in this way because the mountains are kind of slowly rising up. That way I can get over top and then kind of cut down in the valley. Bump our torque right on back up to 1250 for our descent. Our autopilot on and a slow descent. Pretty sure pattern altitude is 3,100 feet. Oh, I'll just plug in 3,100 feet for the time being. I've got it at I have it at 900 feet per minute, and it looks like it's a little too much, so I'll go 800. This is Malamunda's strip chart. And if you're interested, I just got some really cool new t-shirts that actually have the exact same design on them as the strip chart. So I'm going to slowly try making all the different airstrips that we go to. So if you want to collect different airstrips that I go to in a really cool topographical look, check out this website that I'm going to click up here, or you can just click in the link down below. Anyways, yeah, 3,100 feet's my pattern altitude. We'll be landing on runway 08. It's just a one-way airstrip. Really, really cool pattern. It's kind of a really short final at, like, I don't know, 400 feet per minute, or 400 feet turning final. And it's a fairly quick descent just to get in there. It's a 4% slope. It's usually really slippery, as always. We've been getting a lot of rain lately, so we'll see how it is. Station of Malamunda, 128.5, Kodiak November Tango, Zulu, 10 miles to the west, passing 6,000 on descent. Circuit time Malamunda, 19er. Well, I said we're going to be landing on runway 08. I'm going to hit my OBS, turn to runway 080. It's a nice line on there, and that way I can see exactly as I'm perpendicular and parallel with the runway without even having to look at it. Now within 10 miles, I'll throw my landing light on. I fly around with my pulse light at all times on anyways, so there's still something going on, but what we'll do is we'll enter into the pattern, fly upwind right over top of the runway. It'll give me a chance to look at it, take a look to see how wet it looks, and lets them know that I'm here, and that to get any kids or anything else off the runway, dogs and chickens and whatever else. Really nice day in the valley, that's really good. Let's autopilot off. Because we're 5,400 pounds, my approach is going to be at 63 knots. Our selectors are good. Our PAWS, our train awareness system, which is Betty, she's turned off for now. Our lights and inlet, we'll get inlet as we slow down below 140 knots. On this one, if we do have to go around, it will be power up, 20 degrees of flaps. Pitch for 73 knots, left-hand turn, and then reset our ITT to 740. All right, I've got 5 knots of tailwind right now, which will be on landing, but I think once I get down to pattern altitude, I think that should just disappear. Moresby 6538, November Tango Zulu. In the circuit Malamunda, cancel SAR.
Tango Zulu, Malamunda,
November Tango Zulu. All stations Malamunda, 128.5, November Tango Zulu is in the circuit Malamunda. Slowly bring our torque on back. I've already got my prop forward, that'll help slow down. We've already talked about our abort. Prop and harnesses are done, SAR is done. Actually, it looks really dry today. Oh, I'm gonna shoot. I'll shoot to land right at the first cone in, which is probably like 60 meters or so in. It's like 120 feet or 180 feet, I guess, or something like that. There's like a little like brown area in there. That's kind of where I'd like to touch down, is right in that area. It does look a little bit wet as we come up though, like that darkness of it, that's indication that it's wet. Even though it's a 4% slope, a slight hill, it's like a big thing of rock, so it doesn't drain the water very good. So yeah, once we get up further, I'll expect it to be a little slippery. All right, 10 degrees of flaps, we're in bypass now. Right at pattern altitude, turn our downwind. Go down to 2,800, turning ace. And we are aiming for 83 knots on downwind. To get that 83 knots, I'm going to reduce power, and I'm going to pitch for my airspeed now. So now I'm pitching for airspeed and power for altitude. I just bring my power back so I can pitch up without actually increasing altitude. Now that I'm at 83, then I start adding my power back in. Maintain my pitch to hold that 83 knots. And base, 20 degrees of flaps. Halfway down base, I'll go full flaps. Lose another couple hundred feet here. Start slowing down to 73 knots. So I reduce the power a little bit. That way I can pitch up and I'm not actually gaining any altitude. Full flaps, checklist is complete. Went 63 knots on final. We've got 3 knots of headwind for landing now, so the wind's completely shifted. Turn right at these trees here. Reduce my power, pitch back up, start slowing to 63. 650 on the descent rate. Right, idle. So I don't splatter a bunch of water all over my windshield. I'm not going to go in reverse. It is slippery. Alright, 10 to 20 degrees of flaps just for my takeoff here in a second. Slowly turn around. Not sure if you can see how glistening the airstrip is this morning. Anyways, this is Malamunda. Thanks so much for joining on that little 12-minute flight or whatever it ended up being. If you guys like this kind of content, be sure to subscribe. I put out videos a couple times a week, Sundays and Thursdays at 11 Eastern Standard Time. And if you're a simmer and you want to try that exact same flight, check out my Patreon page where I put tons of flights like this and even have some people building some of these runways for you and your use on Microsoft Flight Sim. I think this one is potentially on there, but not in great detail yet, and it's not, the ICAO identifier is not correct. So if you know someone how to fix that, let me know. I'm just picking one person up, so we'll just remain on the runway. It's usually soft in there, so ended fuel with 670. The 0.2 flight over here. All right, all of our lights off, auxiliary generator, altimeter, and feather. Thanks again, guys. See you next time.